Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Walls and fences can keep people out, but also can keep people in. It depends on the trend of the owners of the wall or the fence. For instance, I know when Romania used to be a socialist country with a communist government, only one party. The United States has two-party system. It's a little bit better than the communists. We couldn't leave Romania. It was very hard to leave, and it was you need a lot of approvals to leave the country and go only in the Eastern Bloc. You couldn't go into Western Europe or United States or anywhere else. So they didn't build walls, but the wall was with people at the border with weapons. So if you were trying to cross, they would shoot you, or at least if you would not stop. So in this case, we have Finland, the great country of Finland. That when you think about Finland, you think about a calm, beautiful country with calm, civilized people. The problem is, I think the problem is, they changed a little bit, or at least as a big influence from other sources to change this culture and make it into a leftist kind of society, which eventually will end up as, in my assessment, as other countries ended up having a leftist government, which limits, controls, then it's going to control everything. And they are building, Finland is building a wall with Russia. I don't see any outrage here in the United States of America regarding this issue. I heard a big argument and yelling and name calling coming from the good portion of our society, calling building a wall at your border, all kind of names like racist and all this. That's how the wall was considered at one point by some. And that was a principle, a matter of principle. But a matter of principle is not situational. That means, as I always give this analogy, if Gigi rapes a woman, that's a rape. But if someone a friend of mine, let's say, does that, am I not considering the same thing? Yes, I will consider the same thing. So I don't hear anybody here, blaming, for instance, Poland or Finland or other countries that decided to build fences and, protective, infrastructure at the border. And the Poles even said that they will build an electric fence with Kaliningrad, with Russia. Did anybody say anything about it? Did you hear anything? I just heard it and I made a video on that, but I didn't hear anybody coming and condemning it. Whereas, do you remember when that guy wanted to build a wall at the southern border? Oh my God, it was like the end of the world. It was, oh my God, we're the worst country in the world doing that. And all of a sudden these things are A-okay. Why? Because these are not based on principles. They're based on interest. And if you have an interest, you're going to call it that way. If you have an interest here, you're going to call the same issue differently. Now, that's not values. Those are not principles. And that's not, a free world. So let's see what's going on here in this little article. So, the new Voice of Ukraine reports on February 28th that Finland begins building wall on Russian border. Construction is expected to last until June 2023. A new road for border patrol guards will be paved next to the fence. The barrier will have to cross some privately held land plots, so authorities are negotiating that with the owners. I tell you what's going to happen. They will do it. When you think that you are owning something, if the government wants that from you and you'd have no power and you're not a billionaire and have, Microsoft or something, they will go through your yard. And they will call it, that's for the public good, for defense right here, for protection, so you have no property. And we're going to compensate you. What if I don't want to become? I don't want that to happen. Well, you gotta. Don't get me wrong. I think that each country has the right, by default, to protect who comes in and control who comes in and who goes out. Maybe who goes out, it's a way of, everyone can go out. Go out. The problem is when you come back. I mean, you have to meet some standards, I guess, to return to your country. Leaving, just go. I would let them just go. Go. And obviously, if you're if you're in prison, you can't go. But the same, who comes in, that's what I have to control, to make sure that there's no threat. But as a country, it's my right, by default, I would say, if I want to build, I don't know, whatever barrier with any other countries around me, I don't see any problems with doing that. From the standpoint of I own that land as a family, that's only I who decides what am I going to do with that land and the borders. So let's go back to this article that is just not strange, but you don't see any. It's not written with the idea of shaming, which I don't think the Finns should be shamed whatsoever for doing this. That's their choice, whatever. The Poles built a fence with Belarus. Well, good for them. That's their choice. And any other state should not have any. I mean, they can talk, but I don't think it's, otherwise I can talk about your decisions in your little house or in your little country, which the United States has this habit of pointing out that people are bad and not good enough as they are, because they're perfect. And if you point things out, they say, well, we're working on that. Yeah, but you point fingers to everybody else, like you were, the morality chief here. Unappointed or not voted, I must say. So here with the Finns, as I said, this article is made to just see we are just isolating Russia. Well, maybe you're isolating yourself from the rest of the world. Did you look at the map to see how Russia is, how big it is? Let me show you a little map so we can see what's going on with Finland first. So this is Finland, right, in Europe. Map of Europe. I just have it here. This is Russia right here. So the border would be from here, all right, from the Baltic Sea, up to right here. So on a different map, well, like this, Finland right here. And this is how long this border, if they do it, would be. And this is, I don't know, 500 miles, 600 miles, 700 miles, I don't know. I would say it's about at least 1,000 kilometers here. I'm just comparing with the distances that I know here. I don't see any legend here telling me who's who, what's what, but I go by the distance, which I'm pretty familiar with this country right here. So I know how much is from here to here, and I think it's more than 1,000 kilometers, that's for sure, here. You're gonna build a fence? Good for you, that's your right. All right, so let's go and see what else these guys say. Around 200 kilometers of border fencing will be placed down in next several years, making illegal border crossing much more difficult to pull off. Illegal border crossing. So they put 200 kilometers. I wonder why only 200 kilometers. Does it have anything to do with natural barriers or something? Because 200 kilometers is really from let's say from here to here. I would say it's something like that. I mean, I look at, as I said, distances, and I know how much, for instance, is from here to here. That's maybe 200 miles in a straight line. So 200 kilometers is nothing. Well, we'll see. Finland has increased state spending on national security and defense. You see how they say, oh, not that. So you see here, illegal border crossing, much more difficult to pull off. Well, are you I mean, here at the States, again, these lovers of freedom, so-called, are very keen or very upset when you call that like that, and you say, oh, that's this or that. Like, everybody has the right to come into your house. Why? Because they have their house is not in order. Finland has increased state spending on national security and defense since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, with a particular focus on expanding the ranks of its border guard corpse. So they are claiming that this is a defensive operation because the Russians are doing what they're doing. I don't think they have to give me any reason, or to anybody. Well, we just want to be protected. Good for you. I don't want anybody to go in. But you see, I have much, much better ideas how to keep people out of a country than that. I think that's too costly and it's not working. There's many, many ways that I know, it's only rock and roll, that they work perfectly. And that could be, as for instance, the US illegal immigration could be solved in 3 hours. 3 hours. Why? There's going to be 3 incidents in those 3 hours, or 5 incidents, and the word will spread. And I guarantee you nobody will cross that border. You don't have to build walls, you don't have to put all kind of sensors or drones and all that. There's the easiest way, and very, very efficient. Efficient and not costly at all. But you have to do it. That's the only thing. You have to have the ball to say, you know what? Are we serious about this? We have the laws. Are we serious? Then enforce the laws. And that's it. Oh my God. Well, then why don't you remove all those guys from the border and let them all come in and see how that's going to work for you. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.